So in the past I was taught the same way, right? You have a slant on one side, and then the slant meets the other side, and we move forward with your piece. That's garbage, but it's simple. I'll use the board as a demo here, so I don't actually use my piece Scott to wheel off of. I just don't want to accidentally go on the side and forget, and then you have to accident. So I was taught essentially, if you have your piece, you have a wall edge, right? So this would be your wall, and you have your edge like that, and this is your piece down here at your face, right? So that's what you're looking at now. Problem with that, if I take my next piece and I go the opposite and I go like that, are you ever going to get your angles to be the same?
No.
Or not, right?
Yeah.
It's nearly impossible. It's really hard. So I thought, okay, well maybe I'll just change the angle. Maybe I'll go out like that. Same thing. Nearly impossible to get that to happen. The other thing I found is your piece likes to slide. If it's too soft, and it usually is because we always jump the gun on this point, it's too soft and your piece will slide inward, it'll slide out, off. If you don't give it a choice, and you give it a V shape, so I know this is a bad terminology, but you have the male part and the female part, right? They're not going anywhere. They're going together. So you know that if you give yourself a V, you give yourself another V on the top edge, and they slide together. It doesn't matter if you're slightly off, it'll actually fit together. The thing that you gotta be considerate of is the calipers. It's making sure that you measure correctly, because that's where it's a minuscule difference will make a problem for you. And I've had it not fit to where like maybe, I'll do my bottom piece, and then I'll come in and I'll do my top piece, and it was off like this. But you see how it's still a V shape, right? That V shape, so as the weight goes down, it still has no choice but to fall to the center, okay?
It'll do a weird
buckle. It'll do a buckle, and you can work the buckle out as you throw that section, okay? The other thing is, how much surface space, or less does that provide versus two walls? Right? Two walls versus one, you have a lot more surface area to connect. Even though it looks small when you're looking at that, you have double the amount of space because it's two angles meeting. Right? So you have double the bond power in that sense, which is really good. I've never had one pop apart ever in my entire life doing it this way. I've had lots of them break like that in the past. Almost all of them. Even if there is, I've never had a problem. And usually it's not, because what happens is that center point touches first, and as you work, I start from the bottom, and you'll see that I'll then push that V up and around. But as you're doing that, you're pushing all this together until you get all the way up until you fill this in. Right? And it literally becomes this one wall. Okay? So I wanted you guys to visually see that before we start to go forward. So if we take off the piece off this one, you can see the V shape that I'm talking about, right? And the consistency of this one is softer, dramatically softer than the other one. This is still firm, right? Because I don't want it to collapse under its own weight. When I go to flip it over, if it's like jelly, it's going to go somewhere, okay? But this is still soft enough that when I start to throw, I'm going to be able to make this come back alive, okay? And it's a lot better. So that's the other thing to remember is your point of contact is going to be firmer, okay? Because you need it to support the weight of everything down here. Once I get this situated, flipped over and so forth, I'll be good to go, okay? And all the weight will be on this top area. So as long as you know that this is met with this, you're okay, right? So as long as your diameters haven't changed, both of mine haven't, so I'm going to double check it, because if I need to, I'll set another wheel and tweak it real quick, because I'm driving in, I'm just never know. Really, when you're using these, it doesn't matter how you're going to use them. Just make sure that the points are going to touch where you want them to, right? So it doesn't matter if you're using those other ones. It doesn't matter if you use the edge or the edge, because we're not doing this as a lid. Be consistent. Exactly.
You want that to sit right
I'm going in the center roughly. Okay? So I'm a little big. Take it down to the notch. I just want to see. Make sure I didn't change anything driving here. So it should be okay. It's on the slightly small side, but what will happen is it'll stretch out.
Making us nested bowls, so
this is your key right here, okay? That is gonna be your best friend. If you can get those 2 points to me, you can, and you will be able to just, doesn't matter if it's compound. Yeah. It's gonna be darn near impossible. The reason I say that is because, unless you want to live here for a while, yeah, fine, you're cheating time right now. So if you're here all day, maybe you want to just do 2 pieces. So like you're going to just do a section with time 1, and you're going to connect your section. And you're going to say you're going to work on other things. Yeah, totally. Just set that bad boy out in the sun, leave it alone, go check on it here and there, rotate it, get it to firm up naturally. Yeah. If I'm working on multiple projects in my own studio, I'll definitely set up, I just don't have space to set up a lot, so I'll go outside and set them on the ground. I've seen people do that a lot. Set pieces out there to firm up. That's fine. We'll set them out there and, check on them. The thing is, the sun moves, right? So it'll be okay in one area and all of a sudden you have a dry spot. You leave it that way, you come back, you have a dry spot. Go out there every 30 minutes or so and rotate your piece, even with the breeze. The way the breeze is going to hit it. That was kind of the problem. So for me, that's where heat guns is really, it's a quick solution to it. And even beyond that, it's quicker if we can use one. But unfortunately we can't, right? So the other thing that you want to do is, I need to get my scraper, I forgot that. Oh, you're okay.
This is dinner.
Oh, it's dinner? I like it. Okay, so you're going to want, my basic tools that I have for throwing is a basic scraper like I would normally, because I'm going to end up needing that here. Sponge, basic sponge, finishing sponge, a rubber rib, metal rib. This is kind of cool. I like this rib that I came up with. You can really put some oomph into it, as in press, if you will. A nice long flat rib, because I'm going to connect 2 pieces and I want them to go flat, right? So to get that to work out, this is going to be my best friend, okay? So I'm just kind of showing you what I have in my bin. Basic needle tool, and then basic rubber rib. Okay?
Do you need to compress it beforehand, or?
Do not compress it beforehand. You talking like this area, like compressing it?
Yeah.
You want to split this open. So there's a lot of different ways to split this open, okay? You can use any tool you want. I've been doing it for making sectional pots for, I don't know, probably about 8 years. The best tool that I have found for doing sectional pots is this one. So this is a jeweler's tool. The only reason I have this tool is because I had to take a jewelry class in college. It's actually a burnishing tool, okay? So what happens is, pass it around so everyone can see it real quick. You can use even any metal, rib thing, dowel, any of that stuff. Problem that I found in the past is the dowels always wear out and they change shape and the wood grabs. Doesn't matter what happens. For some odd reason, I decided one day, I'm not doing jewelry anymore. I'm trying to see what happens here and see if this works. It's the best tool that I've ever found because it comes to a really nice thin point. It's extremely hardened steel because it's meant for burnishing metal in jewelry work. So you could actually go to, I think it's Menaja is the name of the company, or Maja or something weird like that. Maja Tools. I think it's Menaja Tools, which is really weird, but yeah.
Probably a play on Menaja
It could be, right? But it's interesting. The thing is it works really well because you're able to get in there and get a really sharp point, or you can lay it flat and open it up more. Once I got it open up more, I'll take my pinky and open it up as far as you want because you can expand your pinky, okay? This tool is like your best friend. So that's another tool we're going to use tonight, right? So I need to keep my head straight and remember what I'm doing and be set. So you got to reactivate that top edge. Don't be afraid to get it wet. So I'm going to continue seeing what can happen, right? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll kick my stool out of the way at this point because I'm at a point now where I don't have a choice. Like I need to get myself situated to be able to stand and throw. So you got to be careful and confident in this. So this is where if you get familiar with throwing and standing, it kind of benefits you, right? So a lot of times you'll see me lean against the wheel with one leg to brace myself, kind of thing, okay? If not, just get yourself confident. Sometimes this is where it's a whole new learning process, and this might throw you for a loop, and that's okay. If you have to, and you get yourself set, find a happy medium with a wheel speed, happy medium, right? And try it that way. My problem with that is I still firmly believe that you need to be in control, and if you need to adjust your speed, and all of a sudden you're going wonky, and you'll lose your piece quicker that way. So if you can learn to stay stepped on the pedal and go up, you'll benefit. All right? So I know it's a learning process, and that's a lot of what this is. It's more about for yourself than anything. I mean, I can only lead you to this. You got to practice it, right? So A lot of times I'll get my arm wet too, all the way up. So that way if I use my arm, it'll slide, okay? If you want to control where your water goes on the inside of your vessel, no matter how big you're at, put your arm on the inside and slide it down there, and let your hand guide the water. Don't just drop the water down the side, because it'll go everywhere. Make sense?
Yep.
It's another little trick I've learned over the years. So I'm just trying to get this looped up on the inside, set to go. I don't want to get too much down on that bottom area. If I see them happening, take it off. Right? Remove it as soon as you can. But I need this to be wet, just like if you're going to throw. So I'm making sure there's no dry spots on that inside. And outside you can, use a sponge, whatever. It's not the end of the world. Still got a dry spot. Don't want that right there. So it's really about feeling that clay. If you have a funky area, it's going to let you know it real quick when you're doing this. Okay? So, from this point forward, this is what you were talking about. I'm getting myself hunched over a little bit in the sense of seeing what I'm doing here. Okay? I'm grabbing it, and you can see where I'm starting to apply that pressure. Trying to get myself situated in a position where it's going to move. As I've gotten the whole piece wet though, it's going to move where I want it to go. If that top section that I added was too firm, you're going to have a problem. So notice how I didn't touch that whole bottom panel? Yeah. Notice that I have a dry spot. I can feel it. I can feel it grabbing. Add some water back on the inside. Now I can get my hands back to that area. And I can continue with my stretch.
Are you pulling it up at the same time, or are you actually just stretching?
I'm pulling it up and out.
Okay.
So I mean, it probably gained, I don't know, an inch, 2 inches. Not a whole lot in the first one. I'm just trying to activate that clay. That clay was on the firmer side, right? The more time you pull it, the more time it's going to get softer. So work time.
Did you try to limit your pulls?
I do. So we talked about this last week towards the end too. Not last week, but the week before. You try to get in and out when you're doing something. As many pulls as you can and as little pulls as you can. So meaning if you can get 6 inches height out of one pull, that's a great thing. Because some people may take 4 or 5 pulls to do that. And that creates that work time. All of a sudden they've added 5 pulls into that. That's a problem. Where if you have 2 pulls, from here to here was 3 pulls at home. So in, out.
But you can always take a heat gun to it and keep on.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Don't be intimidated by that. I just have learned over the years of doing this in and out as fast as I can. Get myself in with my poles and get out. Okay? So you can see it's not perfect yet, and that's fine. You're just moving forward. I'm taking the time. It's all good. Okay? So now that I've got that kind of situated, my hands, you can see the parts that I'm using to throw. I'll kind of brace my fingers like that on the inside to double push my finger, because if I leave them flat, I don't have the same strength as I do. Question?
No, I just.
So you actually use a finger, you can actually use a rib too.
Yep, you can totally use a rib. I don't like to use a rib because I don't feel like I can really control what that rib is doing as well as my fingers. Right? So notice my throwing rings at how fast they're actually climbing. In a sense, they're not climbing very fast. I'm not trying to gain height here. I'm trying to control the piece. Right? So about right here, I feel like it's getting sticky again, too sticky for my likings. Add some lubrication. Not a lot. I mean, I'm just kind of using the same slip that I have there and going forward. As long as my fingers on the outside can grip and not grip too hard, where I can pull it, I'm fine. The ones that do the damage for me is the inside, because it grips and it grabs. So keep those wetter than the outside for me, and that's why the sponge is on the outside, so I can always just add that water if I need to. Right?
Yeah, I tend to gouge the inside more than the outside.
So Scott and Philip can kind of see how my fingers are working on the inside versus the outside where you guys are at. You can see how my throwing technique might be different than what you guys have seen in the past.
Well, it's changed too, because you moved your index finger off for a minute.
Take a guess why.
Because it's getting softer.
It's getting softer. I don't need to put as much pressure on it, right? So you can see already I'm starting to transfer that shape. So you can see it start to come to life in a whole other shape, okay? Just because you started with it in, it could be dramatic like this, a huge hard blade, slow and slip, right? It could be in really far like that. As long as you got the thickness to stretch it out, you can make any shape you
And
want.
still thick on top, so you
Yeah,
still.
so I still have work room. Plus, I need to be able to pull up, right? So now that I've kind of got my relative area, this is where I'm going to come in with the ribs and start to level this and make it kind of flow together. As soon as
Is
we
that
get that
about
set,
as much height as you'll get?
I'll get a little bit more height out of it. But I want to leave it a little thicker up here so I can put that trough, right? And I'm not completely done. So as far as throwing it up and pulling up, this is where I'm going to stop and say, okay, now I need to start to get my shape right. Okay.
Well, after you get your shape right, is this trough is getting, or this area right here is getting too thin, can you actually push it down and get it?
You can, but not like you think you can, where you can come in and literally just kind of slap it down. You can, but I found that it just, usually what happens is it doesn't go fatter and thicker right here. What happens is it bulges out down here somewhere. So try to just leave it thinner. It's no different than throwing your foot. If you leave it up there, you have the work room. You can always thin that out by just pulling one more time or two more times on it and be done. But if you take it too thin, well, you got a problem at that point, right? Leave yourself that work room. Know your limits. And the more you do this, the more you're going to find, okay, I was totally out of my hands. I need to back off and go to something that I can control. That's fine. That doesn't mean you're not going to be here in a year or 2 years. How committed are you? I don't know. You know what I mean? I see some of you guys in here a lot. I haven't seen you a very lot, but I know your work. I see you in here a lot. I know your work a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of you. I know everyone in here, obviously. There's some new people I don't know, but it depends how committed you are to how fast you're going to excel at this. Remember, I've been doing it quite a while. You know, you guys kept giving me a hard time about how easy it looks. It's not easy. It's still just as hard for me in the beginning as it is now. Except I have fun with it and I realize you trim through the bottom of something, who cares? Like, slap this piece in half, we'll cut it in half for fun if you want when we're done, just to see the
Don't
thickness.
you care?
But you know what I mean? It's not, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And learn from it, because each piece you're going to do is a learning process. It really is.
One day, almost a year.
Just clay.
It really is just clay. And see, now you can see that inside trough more. This is where I'm going to be able to really kind of situate that lip down there. And when I get that lip to match from here to here, because it's kind of undulating as it goes up, that's cool. It's fine. What I'm going to do is take the rib on the outside and move forward. Okay? So, just moving forward.
I have to go, but I will do that.
Okay? On the outside of the rib first, so I can identify where my wall is. And then once I feel with my fingers, I move my fingers backwards onto the rib, okay? So I can identify where the rib is actually touching and where it's not, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to work that bond into shape. And what's going to happen too is you'll see that as I press that inside bond out, it'll kind of help hide your area on the outside, right? Take your time in doing this, okay? Stop and visualize inside and go, oh, well, shoot, I still see my bond. You want it gone, work it gone. How much effort do you want to put in it? If it's a piece that nobody's ever going to look inside, like it's not inviting, it's not open at the top where they can, oh, I see you made that in sections, I can see it. Well, it's up to you. How much effort do you want to put in there? So if you look in there right now, I would trust that piece all the way to be stuck together, okay? I would completely trust it, but as I continue to throw this, when I stretch this out, that will help dissipate on the inside. But if I'm not worried about it, then I'm not worried about it. I can leave that bond on the inside, so you can look in there. I want you guys to look in there and see how tacky it is. It's not a big deal. It's up to you. How do you want it to
It's
look
like
on the inside?
soldering.
Yeah, kind of, right? Do you want it to be clean? Do you want it to be kind of minusculely messed up? It's up to you. I mean, take that with an idea and place it, okay?
Now,
So what I'm
see-
looking for
Now,
is
seeing
just
that
to
you've
connect it.
thrown it upside down, is it gonna go against the grain and wobble?
Nope, it shouldn't have a problem. So you can see how it's off in this sense. Maybe a little bit. Not dramatic, right? Not that when it stops, I wouldn't even worry about it. The thing is if this top area, if you double rib it, remember day one we were learning about the double rib? If you can learn to double rib all the way up on any piece, even if it's small, this will help you in this sense because you'll be able to flow your piece out. And by the time you get to the top, the most important thing is that it's level. If I have an off mountainy top and I go to flip another piece on top of it, then you are gonna have this crazy dancing woman, anything you wanna call it, you know, it's gonna dance though, that's simple. The other thing that'll happen, if this is too soft, down here, it's gonna dance, and it's gonna dance very quickly. The second you put that weight on there, and even as you start to put that torque on where this is, it'll dance, okay? So from this point, all I'm gonna do is keep this up for maybe the next, I don't know, 5-10 minutes-ish. I wanna make sure that this is solid on the outside, not so much the inside, because I've got my flowing shape here. Now I gotta flow out the rest of the way. I wanna try to make this kind of flow the rest of the way.
Is this gonna be a two-piece, or are you gonna put a
I'm gonna put a third piece on, maybe a fourth if they, I don't know, we'll see what happens. So, not really gonna know, just gonna let it happen, that's the idea, okay? So with that being said though, you guys have seen exactly what I'm gonna do the rest of the night. So at another point in the night, I'll stop you guys and say, hey, I'm gonna throw the center piece and stick it on and flip over another piece. So how you see me attach two pieces together, that was the important thing that I wanted you to see tonight. This is tonight, right here.
Okay.
That bond connection is what's important. If you get that connected, I promise you the rest is just what you already know in controlling your shapes using the ribs. The ribs are really important. You'll see that I would never try to do this in this bond with my fingers. I can't control it personally. You might have stronger fingers than I do. I can't do it, you know. So the ribs are really going to be the best fit. Rib on the outside, rib on the inside, soft rib on the inside to push out to that outside rib. That's the firm rib, is how I like to do this. Yes.
What's the rib that looks like a T?
This one is
Yeah.
not a rib. So this was a tool that Robert borrowed in the back. He was going to use it. So this is a 45 angle tool. So for hand builders,
Oh.
like you drag this across the table, and if you want to get a perfect 45, which would be that one, and you want to make, so you have two pieces meet and you have a perfect square, you put that along your edge and drag it, and you get a perfect 45, and then when you connect your pieces, you have a perfect square for slab work. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Straightforward tool. So with that being said, what I want you guys to do is, I mean, you can continue to watch me, or you can give it a go. See what happens tonight, you know what I mean?
Go to
What I'm going to do is literally just sit here and play with this, take my time using the heat gun, get it right. You'll see how long it'll take. If I don't get to the point to throw the third piece on, then I don't get to it, because I might only get it out and stretch it out and go, okay, I've only got it ready to put the third piece on, and then I might do it tomorrow or some other day. I don't know. We'll see what happens. My goal is to try to get 3 pieces thrown sectional like this, okay? However tall it ends up, however tall. From that point, then we'll use the clay extruder like we talked about for that next class, not this next one, but the final one, where I'll show you guys how to use the clay extrusion pieces to add up and keep going with this base. As long as I can keep this wet enough to stick to my bat. If it pops off your bat, you're SOL.
You're done.
Straight up, you're done. You might as well call it a day. The best thing you can do is put it on a Giffen grip and try to finish out your top edge, which I've done. The problem is the Giffen grip is plastic. This is about 40 pounds of clay, 42-ish maybe.
But even if it pops off, you still have the centering circle from the,
Yep.
and you just pound some clay pieces.
You can, but by the time you start to put torque on it, so when I actually go and I'm going to continue throwing this, because I'm going to literally take my time and throw this up,
Right.
you'll pop it off the bat,
Right.
as if it's just stuck with clay pieces. So don't be afraid every now and then as we're doing this to come in and give it a little bit of water down there, just to make sure that it doesn't come loose. Right? So then when I go to wrap this up tonight, that's something that I'll make sure you guys definitely see before you take off, is I'll wrap this up so you can at least see, or even show you how I wrap up my work, even if I'm not done. Because I want you to see how important it is to wrap up your work. If you don't wrap it up right, and you're going to come back to this, like where we're doing this in stages, it's not going to happen. So with that being said, I would normally try to get my butt in here and do a pot start to finish in one day. Because that's going to benefit you. Even if you're in here for a whole day, commit to it, or, even if you get one piece off, and it's 6 inches, and you did a sectional, that's the goal. I want you to do tri-sectional, okay? Doesn't mean you have to do 20-pound pieces at a time. Don't kill yourself here. Start with 5, start with 3, start 2, 1, 10. Take the techniques we did the first day and apply it, and center your piece. Throw a cylinder, just like you see me do where I turned it into a bowl, except you're going to use a tool, doesn't matter, like I did, and that top edge, and you'll see me where I'll get to a point tonight where I'll come back in and use this, and put my flange in there, and I'll put my V shape and move forward. Okay? So other than that, I'm just going to turn on heat guns. You guys can talk to me, chat with me, see whatever we're going to do. I'm going to kill the video because there's no point in seeing heat guns. You guys are going to see heat guns.
I wanted to see, are you gonna double it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, are you going to stick around for that one?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. She's gonna make me nervous, you guys.
It's like, it's kind of.
You don't think
magic.
so?
No, it's kind of, look, there's a magic to this.
There is, I would say so. The magic is just being Houdini, honestly, being comfortable.
Right, you know, it's this magic that out of like lumps.
Oh yeah,
Becomes
you
this
create
big-
this thing, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is about it is it's all about heat and time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. You can have that lump and it'll turn into a lump real quick if I, you know,
Yeah.
don't firm this up enough. The pressure, especially right now, I'm gonna double rib this. You will twist that so fast, it just, I mean, instantly it'll happen. Scott happened to you last week, right? Yeah.
Took me forever to fix it.
Yeah. And is it really fixed?
No,
Probably not. You know,
It has thick walls, thin walls.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's fine.
and as soon as you, yeah, but it's a learning process. See, now he knows how
Firm it needs to be.
right, how firm.
Yeah, that's
Right? It's pretty
way
firm.
firmer than I.
It's way firm.
Whatever.
The thing is I'm done down here.
Right.
Yeah,
If I know I'm gonna get a globe, draw the bottom of what your globe should look like in the beginning. Match the top part to the
I think
bottom.
my-
If you have the bottom, it's done, it's fine. But remember, if you're gonna have a globe, the other secret to it, and this is where it comes in, like next week when you say, hey, okay, I wanna do a globe. Let's do a 5-pound globe, that's fine, let's do 2.5s and 2.5s. You have to have probably more like 5 pounds on the bottom section, because you cheat the bottom of your globe, right? On that bottom, you trim off all that extra girth like you did on that plate kind of thing, you get rid of it and make it go in, okay? Whereas if you try to throw it like that and flare it out, you're putting yourself through a lot harder work than you have to, than to trim it off. And make it-
Now, how do you keep it from cracking? Because I think that's one of my fears is like having the
With
bottom
this?
section crack.
Just keeping it moist. I mean, like you'll still see me here and there, like if I feel it, if I've been in here for a half a day messing with this, or I keep hitting with a heat gun or a torch or whatever, every now and then you'll see me take the water to it just here and there. But like I said, down at the bottom, don't be afraid to get that moist, because if it pops from the back,
you're done.
you're done. Call it a day. That simple. In my honest book, I mean, you don't try to waste your time moving forward with it, since it's not worth it. Okay? So, I like to add water to these guys, just because I want them to slide, okay? So this is where I kind of rest my knee on the back of the wheel, right? Not so much the splash pan, but the back down here, because I'm bracing myself, because I don't have that contact point, okay? Double ribs. So down here is where it's important, right? Down here is going to be where it matches to, okay? So now you need to figure out, though, what shape is it going to take? This is where it all happens, is in this point in time. If I want to just keep going out, okay, can I get to a point where, well, shoot, I don't even know what this is. I better check with the measure, too, you know, like, okay, is it, well, roughly probably at like 12 inches. You know, can I go more? Well, you actually need to check. What do you guys remember to width of the kiln?
23, 20,
It's
22
like a
and a
long
half.
ways to go. I mean, I can stretch it out quite a bit if I want. Right?
Yeah,
And a
then you
long
couldn't do
ways.
anything, couldn't add anything to the top of it.
Oh yeah, we can totally add. And that's going to be what like the next class is about too, is to show you that if you can't throw your sections, you chorus your sections on, and then you have no limits.
Right.
And then it can be very thin when you
You
bought
can
it.
do really thin and get even a little bit thinner with your throwing. Cool? So, right, let's see what happens. Making me nervous again.
sorry.
So I'm finding my fine-tuned speed and kind of on and off the gas, if you will. I just want to, didn't mean to chase you off. I was just giving you a hard
No,
time.
no, I'm watching,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
doing a 360
Gotcha.
here.
So, this is my point to where it's going to, okay? Pushing out with this rib to that point,
Okay.
okay? So this is like not moving. This is my firm arm. This is why you see it braced on the inside of my leg. Certain point, you'll see me tuck my arm in more and kind of going like that. I'm trying to stay tight, okay? Because you're stronger when you're closer to yourself. Notice the angle too. It's kind of following the angle of the rib itself, all right? So I'm finding the angle of what I had down below. You can see it starting to change shape, right? It's not happening overnight. Is that a sneeze or a cough, Scott?
That's a weird cough. It's like a piece of feather in the back of my throat.
Good, I just was worried it was a sneeze. I was going to take a bless you. So you see how it's happening, right? Okay?
It's magic.
It is kind of magic. But you see, you could almost call that a day right there. You can say, oh, you know, shoot. But then come in and you're not done. You want to blend those two, okay? That's where you can come in with that metal rib or even a shaving tool. Shave it off, get rid of it. Who's gonna know? You. Maybe me, because I've seen you do it. But otherwise, no one's gonna know. You can see how you just take your time, right? But from here, when I get to a certain point, I'm gonna blend that better. That line needs to disappear from me. So as I start stretching it, I'm gonna come back in and apply pressure from the bottom and we'll work it up, okay? So you take your time, it's that simple. You're not in a rush here. If you get in a rush, I don't know, you might do that for the wrong reasons.
It's like I can see it kind of pulls your arm.
You can see that jerk
Yeah.
take place. That's where if you have the water, you're on the better side of things. Is that line disappearing on the outside, Audra? A little bit?
A little bit.
Not too much yet, right?
It's definitely more blending.
It's just so hard
Slowly, but surely, right?
so hard not to be able to hold your other arm while you're doing it.
It determines your speed, just how it feels.
For me, I take my time when I'm doing this. I'm not trying to go fast.
Yeah.
Notice how the top is starting to go, oh crap.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Follow it through. Promise you, as you get to the top, it'll even itself out, and it'll work. So remember the whole double rib thing? Double ribs are going to make your clay really strong, because it's not moving, right? As you're doing this,
Yeah.
it has no choice but to go where you tell it to go. So with that being said, it started to go undulating crazy on me.
And that's nice.
It's not. Let off. If you let off fast, hard, you're going to pull it in an odd direction, okay? But that being said, that's like the beginning to
Yeah.
pretty impressive size base, right? That's the bottom, okay?
Part of it's getting a little bit softer there. Like
Yeah, you can see right here. So, good example. Good example and good eye. That's what that is. So, right there, it's not so much soft. I have a stretch mark.
Stretch right.
Yep. So what that is right here. Two things could happen right there. There could be an air bubble, which darn sure maybe happened. Because when I was throwing it, I got lazy. I'm getting wedge. Remember I told you about wedge? Yeah. I didn't want to do it. It's like, that's too much play. I'm not feeling it. I did too much this weekend. You can throw that with me. That's simple, okay?
How did you round it up though?
Just like normal, like just swatting it on the wheel. Remember the first day, bang, 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 put it in shape and just go forward. But it came out of the puck machine like 3 days ago. Now with that being said, it still might have that stupid auger memory. I'm not worried about that though, okay? But it was soft enough to know that it was good to go. Because I reconstituted the clay. I want to make sure it's good. That was essentially my wedge. But back to this, and losing my train of thought. That could be caused by an air bubble, or it can be caused because as you're stretching it, I may have had this drier than it should have been at the top. And if you have it too dry, something has to give. Something stretches and something collapses. So what happens is the surface tears, which by looking at it, it's not a stretch mark as in from stretching it being too dry. It's an air bubble, I guarantee it. If I cut down in maybe a quarter inch or something, I'd find me a little air bubble. Is that the kind of thing I'm going to worry about?
Yeah, there's
No way. I'm not even worried about it one bit. Because what I'm going to do is roll my shape out. I'm going to blend this area, and I'm going to go up and go up. See what happens, right? That's the idea. But now from this point, I could say, if I see this go around, let's see where we're at. Is it really uneven? Because what you're looking for, this is the most important part. If you have a really high spot and a really low spot, this is getting close for me.
Yeah, just one little.
A little area right there, that divot, okay?
Yeah.
That divot could potentially cause you a problem. Not so much to make your piece offset, but what'll happen is where you go to blend your lines, okay? Your V shape will be short clay in that area. And then when you go to press your V shape together, you'll have a spot that'll be missing clay and you have no option but to cheat it. And what I mean by cheating is take your slip off there and run it along the side and then come back in with your rib and press it back in. And make it, I mean, it's all the same. Slip versus clay versus what's hard on there, it's all the same stuff, it's clay, right? This is just gonna dry out more. So you might have to go back in a couple times and fill in some of your groove points. You know, if I can't get this line to go away, you can see it all the way around. It's not dramatic, but it's more prevalent through there, predominant. You can cheat it. Or I can even cheat it when I come back to it with a trimming tool and just trim it off. I'm not done. Remember, I still haven't trimmed this in. You do not trim the bottom until the last step. You're done. Done, done, done. Okay? Don't do it. Make sense? Straightforward? You got to see the pulling and you got to see the stretching. So now, I think I'll probably trim off like a minuscule amount in the top.
Yeah.
Just ever so slightly because I'm worried about that V sinking down in that area. So you needle tool it off just like you would any other time. Okay? And other than that, I mean, you might say, you know what, I'm comfortable with it, and I'll move forward. And I think it'll work itself out when I put it together. That's okay. You will know where you're at in your drawing abilities. I can't tell you where you're at. I can watch you and say, yeah, I don't think you're there yet, but you might want to say, no, let me show you. I feel confident in this. You know, some people can't trim with the needle tool and pull off a piece off top. That's something to work through too. If you're not there yet, let's get you there next week.
Wow.
This is your key, okay? Seriously, you cannot double rib yet. This should be number one focus. It doesn't have to be wood rib and a soft rib. It can be any ribs that you want, that you are confident in.
Having a big enough rib is going to be key for this. Yeah.
So Scott, will you pull up that top section and then get that really stupidly sized rib out?
Yeah.
So this rib has one purpose. What's its purpose?
Oh my gosh!
Right? It has one sole purpose. Stretching, or if I want to blend one solid tall piece, the taller your piece is, the more taller your rib needs to be to get it to flow. If I want to get a nice flat line, right, how are you going to do that? From here to here, that's only about, you know, let's say 11 and a half, 12-ish. That's quite a bit, but if you have something that's a little bit longer, you can get a little bit more even flows between your two sections.
I
Okay?
thought that was big.
Yeah.
So
That really doesn't have a purpose. It's an ego booster, if you will.
well,
It has one purpose, because when you're going to do something big, that's the only thing you need. Other than that, people look at your toolbox and go,
come on.
There
Yeah.
are times that I will improvise.
yeah. And sometimes you can take a 2x4 or a ruler or something and stick it on there too.
Or I use
That's where that comes into play.
One of those rulers just do the same.
Yep. Right.
Freaking
So any questions, you guys? I mean, literally, you've seen what I needed you to see today in the beginning. Now you've seen me stretch it and pull it, and you've seen how that works. You've seen I'm not in a rush. It's not as fast as what you're normally doing when you're pulling. Now at this point, I could come in and do one pull if I want through, but I honestly feel as I did it and stretched it, it did what I wanted to, and it's as thin as I needed to be up here. I'll just trim that top off. Now from this point though, if I want to continue forward, got an hour, I could totally move forward and move with the next piece. My next steps would be to firm this up. This needs to match what this is or was. But before that happens, this needs to be exactly where I want it. So when I go up each piece, you're just building that section. You're not worried about the bottom section. It's situated, okay? So if I'm going to do the next one, you've seen that that piece, this one that went on, was all the way to the bat head. So when you're throwing a tube, it's all the way to the bat head, okay? You don't leave a base in the bottom. That's the only difference between the top and the bottom pieces. This has your base. This doesn't. Each section you add on is all the way to the wheel head or back, okay? Make sense?
I'm going to have happy dreams.
Okay. Any questions before you take off, Kathy?
No, thank you.
Okay.
That was amazing.
Yes.
That
All
was
right.
amazing.
Look for the video online here this week. It'll be on there. So otherwise, you guys, I'm just going to keep moving forward.
There are times that I just can't throw all this for the bat head, so I'll leave a little bit of a base, and then after I throw it up, I'll take a bit
Yeah.
of this out.
Yep. And that was something that I was going to even talk to you guys about is getting it to go all the way down and pulling that open can be problematic. It doesn't like to move like you expect it to. It becomes problematic. So Kathy, real quick before you take off, we were just talking about the piece when you throw down to the wheel head.
Yeah.
If you decide to try to do that, it's a large amount of clay. Sometimes it's really hard to move that clay. It'll start wobbling on you.
Okay.
The donut doesn't work right. So if you leave maybe, I don't know, a couple millimeters, centimeters
Yeah.
of clay down there, and then pull it back, it slides. It cuts itself away from the wheel head. It's really weird. It tears away, but it leaves the flat area. Then come out and trim out the bottom. Like just take a rib and carve it out, and then you'll have the hollow base in there. But if not, it tries to,
Yeah.
the donut, it doesn't move sometimes like you want it to on there.
That's cool.
Could you leave that, after you take like a needle tube to it, you just leave that there, and then when you flip it over on top, you just trim off so much.
You could. I would always be fearful that that's gonna fall into my piece, you know, and be a problem. Thank you, Kathy. I mean, otherwise, I mean, you could totally leave it in there. I would just be nervous about it falling inside my piece and then giving me a headache that I gotta peel it out or, you know. So if I can get rid of it, anything that I do for myself, just like coming in here tonight and having that pre-done. If I wouldn't have had all that done before I came in here, you guys would have been sitting here still and I would have just been working on getting the bottom section done. It just doesn't work. Give yourself time. With heat torches, yeah. Or even just high powered heat guns, like these are your higher power. Move forward with highness. These are always here, you guys. If you want to come use them from me, be my guest. I don't care. I'm perfectly fine with it. Even if you go away and eat lunch and leave that bad boy sit and the wheel going around and then you come back after lunch, you know, and it's okay, you're good to go. Well, that's fine too. You made that happen. But yeah, I mean, and you can see the piece that I cut off here. That stuff is already drying and it's coming off the wheel head. So you can see how important that is too. And I call this the wheel head just because that's what I'm envisioning on here. To give you some moisture back down here again. Like I've already been talking too long without adding water back down there again. So don't be hesitant to do that. Okay? Cool? Makes sense?
And my key question is, what are these varnished with?
I can show you the container. I can send you it through email at home. It's I want to say it's like,
Did you make that?
yeah. It's a oil-based Varathane. So it's not a water-based Varathane, and that's what gives it its seal. But you can see, like, that rib has been used once, right? And you can see other ones in my box that have been used probably 100 times, because that varnish kind of wears itself off over time.
It's not linseed though.
No, you can totally use linseed oil. That stuff works great.
Just catches
Whatever
on
you,
fire, but-
well, yeah. But so this stuff, you could totally light that up.
Yeah.
And it'd burn. Probably not as much when it's dried out like this and cured.
Right.
But linseed oil works really well too.
Okay.
Really well. I've even seen people soak their stuff in like canola oil
Hmm.
and do it. Any oil substance to cure that wood, Vaseline would even work. It's just Varathane type based stuff like that that's oil based, I find lasts a little longer against the clay, the abrasion of the clay.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's really up to you. How often do you want to care for your tools? For me, I take them out if I've been throwing a lot, and I'll do it maybe every 2-3 months. I'll just lay them out on newspaper and just rip them one side and the other, and go back to the other side, do the other side. And just one thing coat, and just leave it alone. It'll last a long time. Same thing with your bats, you know, giving that oil to them.
Okay.
Okay? Cool? Do you have questions? You excited next week?
Yes.
Cool. Don't hesitate to let me know if you need something else. though.
Okay.
I was worried. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I have a big piece in the back shed.
Sounds like that, something like that.
I know. My one in the back shed's like this size.
I had that happen.
But it's loppy.
I have a crazy story.
It's fun loppy.
I had that. I had to crawl out of the elevator shaft underneath.
Well, feel how hard this base is.
When I was working.
This is something that is like mind blowing. It's so hard.
It's ridiculous. And I still stayed working there. So I know what you're talking about because I'm a big guy and made me crawl through a space about the size of this.
I would not make it that hard.
It was definitely a whiskey kind of night after.
Yeah, yeah, I needed to just get home.
And then everyone was even more mad because
Yeah,
they're
it's
like,
just
it was like 4 in the morning, where are you? And I'm like, I really just, I couldn't, I needed to, I don't know, I just needed.
Exactly, exactly.
So definitely
Oh,
don't be
these are so
intimidated.
stiff.
I was worried that that's what I did to you last week.
Oh, no, not at all.
Don't
And I've been
be
trying to
super
work.
excited
Oh,
with anything.
no, not at all.
Because 1 pound, 2 pounds, I'm sure we can handle. but
Okay,
pound
yeah, I'm
for
gonna probably
do
come
it.
up with a few pieces next week.
Definitely.
And see what my limitations are.
Exactly, that's what you gotta find, okay?
Cool.
Don't tear stitches.
I
It's
won't.
important.
I'll wait, I'll
I
wait.
wanna
Yeah.
see what this
Don't do
thing
anything
is.
between now and into town.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you, Audra.
What is this thing?
That's kind of cool. Let's go with at this point. Let's talk about that. So my final step is I'll actually wet my piece down a little bit before I stick a bag over it. Make sure my wheel's off. I'm gonna turn that bad boy back on. You know, and just so I can spray it. Not trying to saturate my piece, but I definitely just want it to be wet. You know.
Especially on the bottom.
Especially on the bottom, not so much up top where I know it's wet. I'm not spraying the inside really, just the outside area, okay? I mean, it's shiny, it's wet, but it's not sopping wet, okay? Shut my wheel back off. I like to get my hands on really big bags if possible, like big trash bags. This will be my first step. Open that bad boy up. so you don't scar the top. And then go over, set that centered area where it needs to be, and then bring it down.
You want it to touch.
Yep, so I'm going to want it to touch, so I need to get that clay to not stick until I'm ready for it to stick. You can see as I go around, I'm kind of pressing that bag tight to the actual clay. Yep, and that'll help. So then what I'll do, Philip, is come around with another bag again, soak it down, and put another bag over top of that one. And then I'll actually do it a third time. So I have 3 layers that actually have 3 water layers now. I actually have 2 water layers because it's over top of the clay, right? You know, over top of this bag.
It's
So
not gonna dry anytime soon.
it ain't gonna dry anytime soon. It'll be ready. I mean, I could come back to it in 2 weeks and,
It'll
you know,
still be okay.
yeah, it should be okay to start throwing again. All right? So that's how I take care of covering up my work, you know, between now and then. Obviously, if I'm gonna get it off, I gotta get it off. I can take it off the bat, splash pan, lift the bat up, and take it to wherever I'm gonna go with it. But otherwise, I'll just put on a couple more bags.
It's like, you tuck it in underneath.
Yep, so when I would get it up and off, I would tuck it in underneath, so that way there's no water getting in and out. And literally, you know, with the next bag, I mean, you're gonna saturate down that bag, saturate it. So I mean, it's dripping running water, okay? And then stick another bag over top of it. And you should be good to go.
Any type of air being.
Yep, so I was just telling Philip that when I'll do it, I'll soak the pot down, not soaking wet, but
Right.
wet enough that I can stick the bag to it and it'll
Right.
stick, okay? Put the bag down, and then I'll put another bag over top of this bag, but I'll soak it down like this. You can see how the water's beating. I mean, it's pretty wet. Soak it down, put another bag on it, soak that bag down, put another bag on it, and my work doesn't ever dry out on me. I never have a problem.
Well,
Otherwise,
I think
that's how I take care of it.
I'll just donate that, waster to the
For the band.